Alright, so, I'm just completely fed up with life right now. Not even life, but just like the society that we live in. And I mean, I know it's different for everybody else, and a lot of that depends on how much money you have. Because if you have a lot of money, then life is fine, for the most part. I mean, everyone has their struggles, but I don't know. I just feel like I've been shammed. Like, this is not the way I would have imagined the world to be. Like, I thought it would have been a little more sensical. Like, it would have had some kind of logic to it, but it really doesn't. Like, you have, I don't know, just like the police. Like, we have too many police on every corner, and it's like racism and sexism and transphobia and homophobia, and we had slavery. I mean, like, I know all that's done, but it's like, there's just so many things that don't make sense. And I thought that we were supposed to be the most intelligent species on the planet. But by the looks of things, you have oil spills in the middle of neighborhoods in Arkansas, you know, gallons upon thousands of billions of whatever gallons of oil spilled in that one thing with BP, you know, Shell and ExxonMobil and all these different disasters. And it's like you have all this going on. And it's like, how smart are we if that's the way that we're living our life? How smart are we if we have a system where you have to give money that you don't have by waging yourself away, you know, and if you don't produce that money, then you're going to suffer on the street and possibly die. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, why can't we just have homes and communities, not be dependent on that, and, you know, if you want to make some extra wealth on the side for yourself and not just for a company, then that's all good and well. But no, we have, you know, wage slavery. And a lot of these jobs, like, I know people depend on them, but they shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to depend on doing terrible jobs just to have a roof over our head, just to have transportation, just to have clothes and food. We shouldn't have to be working at a McDonald's, mechanically cooking food for other people who should have been making their own food, but they don't have the time to make their food because they're focused on trying to get their job, work at their job, and they don't have the time. You know, their kids are going to school 5 days a week, so they don't have the time to learn how to cook for themselves or cook as a family or do any of that. So you have people doing these ridiculous jobs, cooking food for people who should be cooking their own food, cleaning up after people who should be cleaning their own messes at their jobs. It's like, it's just stupid. And, you know, you have all that going on. You have people, well, I mean, bus drivers are necessary, but it's like, I don't know. You still have to have bus drivers when everyone has cars. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And you have people driving cars, one person, and there are 4 other seats open, and they're driving their own car, and everyone else has to pile on the crowded bus. Like, it's stupid. And I don't know. I don't feel as though we have been a success. At least at this part in human history, the industrial age, information age. While things have been able to come about quickly due to the advent of certain technologies and innovations, you know, things can be produced quicker, but they're not produced smarter, and they're not produced necessarily for our benefit. And everything just seems backwards here, at least in the United States. Everything is so everything is so compartmentalized. Everything is so boxed and pent up, and there's just all this energy, this like frustration. You can't really express how you feel because there's all this social protocol around what's appropriate to say, curse words, censorship, what's age appropriate, and all this kind of bullshit. And so you don't know what to say, you don't know when to say it, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to approach hang out with someone. You always have to text them first or call them first, and texting is terrible. It's a terrible way to communicate. Even as someone who does better in writing than verbal communication, I think texting is stupid. And oh my god, it's like, I'm so disappointed in the human race. It's like, how do we do this? How do we do this to ourselves? And then we have all these gadgets that, in the little free time that we do have away from work and away from school, we just use it to titillate ourselves, to, give us the instant gratification of quick entertainment, non-challenging entertainment. I mean, I know some people, and I, oddly enough, used to do this when I was younger, use the internet for educational purposes to, find out articles, read scientific journals, to, find out about critical news. There's lots of people that do that. But then you have the vast majority, and a large percentage of the internet is just not challenging. It's just to pass the time from your boring, dreary life away from work. It's like, I don't understand it. I don't know. Because it's like, I see people doing good things in the world, and I'm like, I can do that too. But, all the years that have been wasted just sitting around, doing whatever I was told, just sitting at home, watching TV, while my parents, they worked all hours of the night. They used to have graveyard shifts. And, a lot of people say, like, you shouldn't blame your parents for, your damages, which isn't all the way true. It's not always true. Sometimes you really should blame your parents for neglect or abuse or whatever. But now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the failures of my upbringing were not just really about my parents. It was about time, and it was about money. They didn't have the time to really think creatively about how can we invest in this child's upbringing. How can we bring this person up in a way that can really fully realize their potential? They didn't have that because they were working all hours of the night. Whenever they did get off of work, they were just tired. They're just too tired to really actually raise children. Like, that's how grinding and exhausting the society is. And with me being at school most of the time, I didn't have a lot of introspective time. Well, I mean, I did at home, but school wasn't really a place, ironically enough, to really think critically about who I was, what I wanted, to think critically about society, to have genuine discussions. I know, fifth graders can't hold philosophical discussions on the level of like an adult or anything, but there's something to be said about having a childhood where, the youth are encouraged not just to sit there and kind of just take whatever. They can have discussions. They can really think about, is this something I want to be doing? Is this the right thing to do? They should have some agency over their lives. They should have, some sense of, I don't know. So my parents, I just feel like they didn't have the time or the energy to really give me what I needed to flourish as a human being. And now I'm left to do that by myself as an adult, just starting out. And I mean, it's daunting. So when I see people, doing these great things, and then I hear about their background, it's like, oh, okay. If you didn't use that time, then you're just going to be a failure. So, but I don't know. This is a terrible song. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm ranting about anymore. I'm really tired. Like, sleep deprived. And just, like, exhausted. And really depressed, really anxious. I don't know what I'm doing with my time. I don't know how much time I have left. That's another thing too. You hear all these stories about people dying and people falling prey to freak accidents and like I don't know. It just seems like the world is a horrible place. And I mean, there's happy moments. Don't get me wrong. There's times when you genuinely enjoy yourself. But I just feel like what's the meaning, What's the real meaning in life? I don't know.